Hey everybody, Jay Super Awesome here. I'd like to welcome you all to episode number 1 of my 31 Days of Horror. In this video, I'll be showing you what I have watched from October 1st through October 5th. Let's check it out. October 1st, 2019, I watched the Child's Play 2019 remake. Child's Play, the 2019 remake, is a fun and entertaining slasher movie, and I really enjoyed the fresh new take on Chucky's character. Chucky can now connect to the clouds, so he's able to connect to multiple devices that he can use to his advantage, and he can also connect to other buddy dolls that can assist him with his bloody rampage. I thought the movie had really solid acting, I enjoyed the special effects, and I thought the kills were really good. I really enjoyed the urban setting to the movie, and I really enjoyed the Friends to the End storyline. I thought they really nailed that with this movie. If you want to see a more in-depth review for Child's Play, the 2019 remake, I'm going to leave the link in the description box below to my original review for when I seen it at the theater. October 2nd, 2019, I watched The Night Sitter. I thought this movie was pretty decent, but it did remind me a lot of some classic horror movies. Maybe that's where they had grew some inspiration from, but with the story's main villains being about three witches known as the Three Mothers, it really put me in mind of Dario Argento's classic films. I also wanted to mention the lighting within this movie. There's a lot of fluorescent colors being used, some violet looking colors, and some bright green. So it seems like a lot of newer movies are moving to this style of lighting to try to give a retro type feel. And it's also the same vibe with the music. The music sort of has that Stranger Things type vibe. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to feel very familiar within this movie. Overall, I thought the story was pretty decent, but it moved along a little bit slow towards the beginning of the movie. It did set up some pretty decent character development, but overall, I did enjoy the characters, and I thought the acting was pretty solid. There is a section within this movie that has a possession sequence, and this really felt like Evil Dead type stuff. So, as I had already mentioned, there's a lot of stuff within this movie that's going to feel pretty familiar. We get treated to some pretty gruesome and gory kills towards the end of the movie, and I was pretty surprised by that, considering how most of the rest of the movie was somewhat tame. Some pretty decent kills towards the end, so the wait was definitely worth it. The movie takes place in December, so there is some Christmas decorations throughout the house. There's no snow on the ground outside. Most of the movie takes place within one location inside the house, but there's a few exterior scenes. So overall, I thought this movie was pretty decent, and I was glad I watched it. October 3rd, 2019, I watched Hellbound: Hellraiser 2. I really had a lot of fun revisiting this classic franchise, and for as long as I can remember, Hellbound: Hellraiser 2 has been my favorite of this series. But it has been a long time since I have watched it. I really like how this movie picks up immediately after the first movie ends, with Kirsty waking up in the hospital, once again played by Ashley Lawrence, and she was one of my all-time favorite scream queens of the 80s, due to her role in the first movie and of course this one. She wakes up in the hospital and nobody believes her crazy story of doorways and otherworldly beings and monsters from hell. Other than her doctor, who goes by the name of Dr. Kennard, he has lived his entire life fantasizing about the puzzle box and knows of these otherworldly beings and potential doorways to open up hell. So after talking with Kirsty, Dr. Kennard learns that he can resurrect Julia, Kirsty's evil stepmother, by using the mattress she had died on in the first film. After Julia is resurrected, Dr. Kennard uses a patient of his named Tiffany, who is gifted with solving puzzles. She solves the puzzle box and opens the door to hell. Soon after entering hell, Dr. Canard will become the story's new villain and will eventually have a showdown with the other Cenobites. Kirsty desperately searches hell in search of her father, who she believes is suffering, and she wants nothing more but to save him. This is the main focus of her story within this movie, and up until this point, she is the most important character within the first two films. So I thought it was a little odd that this movie ended with her being able to walk away happy and her not ever finding her father. That was just a really odd way to end it. When I was much younger, I didn't really notice this plot detail, mainly because there's so much creative things going on within this movie with the violence and the gore. There's a lot going on and just a lot to take in, but I still really enjoy this movie. October 4th, 2019, I watched Call Girl of Cthulhu. This movie was a lot of fun. It has fantastic practical effects and gore and a very high body count. It has a good sense of humor to it that I was perfectly able to connect with. So the main storyline to this one is that there is a cult leader who basically has two sets of followers. One group have black ski masks over their face, wearing goggles, and they have pacifiers in their mouth. I know that sounds really weird because it is. The other group are simply wearing Cthulhu-looking masks over their face, which seem to be made out of cloth. And I know that sounds kind of cheap, but it really works for this movie. So basically, this cult leader is looking for a prostitute who has a birthmark of Cthulhu on her butt. He believes when he has her, he can summon Cthulhu and basically set forth the end of the world. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's where I'm going to leave it because you have to see this movie to believe it. I thought the storyline was highly entertaining and I enjoyed it as it would unfold. I thought the characters were really good and I thought the acting was solid. So overall, a really good storyline with really awesome practical effects, lots of blood and gore, and a really high body count. I also wanted to mention that within the storyline, there is a STD that mutates its host. There is a penis monster, whores with horns, and a music curator whose music is so bad she can't even think of a name for it. So overall, I thought this movie was really fun, and you just really had to see it to believe it. October 5th, 2019, I watched Rocktober Blood. Rocktober Blood is a low-budget, mostly bad-acted slasher movie that has its own fair share of problems. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, I really don't watch these kind of movies for the acting. I watch them because they have a cheesy and sleazy entertainment factor to them. And for the most part, I really enjoyed this one. I really like the monster rock music within this movie, even though they do overplay it with the opening sequence and the ending sequence of the movie. At least the ending scene of the movie is at a concert, and there's a lot going on stage, so it was a pretty fun scene. Overall, I thought this movie had a pretty high body count, and from what I remember, we get to see all the kills, and the kills were pretty decent. And I thought that was awesome, considering this is a low-budget slasher movie. They still put a lot of effort into the kills, and I thought that was cool. The only complaint I have with this movie is the ending. I didn't really feel like the movie had a good ending. It does a close-up of the killer and freezes, and then the credits begin to roll. Now, it appears he's in sort of a dying sequence. I'm not really for sure if they set it up that way for a sequel. We don't really know what happens to him, so I didn't really like the ending. But for the most part, I did enjoy this movie. And I wanted to mention that after the credits roll, there is a section to where the director and the producer of the movie, who is husband and wife, it's the creative team behind this movie, the husband and the wife couple, they do a sort of a religious testimony. I just wanted to mention that that was included at the end in case anybody was interested in that. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. Okay, so there you have it. Be sure to join me again next time on October 13th for episode number 2. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment below, and let me know if you have seen any of these movies, or just let me know what you think about my video, and I would like to thank you all for watching.